To call to order the Waterworks Board meeting for Wednesday, August 10th, 2022 at 7:11. If you're not standing, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Teal, would you please take roll call? Here.
Councilman Kevin Conley.
Present.
Councilman Caleb Johnson.
Present.
Councilman Thomas Schmidt.
Here.
Attorney David Austin.
Present.
Fire Chief Robert Patterson.
Here.
Deputy Fire Chief Dave Meyer.
Here.
Police Chief Robert I'm sorry. Police Chief Pete Tormes. Here. Deputy Police Chief Steve McNamara. Here. Park Superintendent John Novosich. Here. IT Robbie Hansen. Police Engineering Neil Simstead. Here. Public Works Director Andy Hansen. Here. Director of Operations Jim Gorman.
Here.
Town Manager Robert Folkman. Here. Recording Secretary Robin Teal present.
And for the record, Councilman Rob Getzloff is not here today, and Clerk Treasurer Mike Troxel is absent today also. First on the agenda are the minutes of the July 13th, 2022. I'd like to announce that myself and Kevin Conley are the only two members here for the Waterworks Board meeting tonight. First on the agenda would be the minutes of the July 13th, 2022 public meeting.
So moved.
I will second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Next on the agenda would be claims.
Move to approve claims.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda would be reports. Do we have any staff reports regarding waterworks?
No reports.
Thank you. Any reports from council members regarding waterworks?
No.
Thank you. There is no old business. There is no new business. Do we have any business from the floor regarding the Waterworks Board meeting? Any business from the floor? Seeing and hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Call to order the Redevelopment Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. The time is 7:14 p.m. The Redevelopment Commission consists of the entire council. I will add Councilman Tom Schmidt and Caleb Johnson to the roll call for this meeting. With that being said, the minutes of the July 13th, 2022 public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Claims. Pleasure of the board.
Claims.
No
Additional claims.
Okay. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Any reports from staff on redevelopment?
No reports.
Council members?
No report.
All right, thank you. We have no old business. We have no new business. Any business from the floor regarding redevelopment? Any business from the floor regarding redevelopment? Any business from the floor? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Good evening. I'd like to call a utility board meeting for Wednesday, August 10th at approximately 7:13 p.m. The roll call stays the same as the redevelopment board. The first item on the agenda is the minutes of the July 13th public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Next item is claims. Any additional claims, Mr. Gorman?
No additional claims.
Motion to pay the claims.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second on claims. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Reports. Any reports from staff regarding utilities?
No reports.
Mr. Volkman, any reports?
No report.
Mr. Simstead from our engineering? No report. And Mr. Annie Hansen from Public Works? No report. Thank you. Any reports from council members regarding utilities?
No report.
No reports. We'll move. We have no old business. We'll move right into new business. First item is item A, is Resolution 2022-13, is a resolution recommending the amendment of the schedule of rates and charges collected by the town for sufficient revenues to pay bonded indebtedness and to operate the utility and all matters related thereto. Mr. Gorman.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. This is a resolution to increase our sewer rates to cover costs related to the wastewater utility or sewer utility operations, future bond debt, and to cover costs for our 5-year capital plan. This will also be on the agenda for an ordinance for the town council meeting.
Okay. Move to approve Resolution 2022-13.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Mr. Gorman, and that rate increase will be over a 5-year period, correct?
Yeah, initially, it's based on, 4,000 gallons of usage, which most people use as an average. And the current rate is $17.41. It'll be going up to $21.41, which is a $4 increase, and then 3% per year for the next 4 years.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on Resolution 22-13. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. At this time, I'll open it up to the floor regarding utilities. Is there any comments from the floor regarding utilities? Any comments from the floor regarding utilities? No comments. We'll move right into the town council meeting.
I'd like to call to order the Town Council meeting Wednesday, August 10th, 2022 at 7:18 PM. The roll call remains the same as the previous meeting of the Utility Board. First on the agenda would be the minutes of the July 13th, 2022 public meeting.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes pass 5-0. Next on,
4.
4-0. Next on the agenda would be claims. Are there any additional claims?
No additional claims.
Motion to pay the claims? Sorry.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Claims carries 4-0. Next on the agenda, we would have reports. So I'd like to start to my left with Fire Chief Patterson.
Thank you. I'd like to report that for the month of July, Fire Department responded to 262 EMS calls and 57 fire-related calls for a total of 319 calls for the month of July. I'd also like to report that the 9/11 board met. We will be hosting the 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony, which will be held on September 11th, 2022, from the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This will be an open ceremony this year. There will be no guest speaker or anything. So we'll be out there handing out flyers and pins throughout that time frame. That's all I have.
Thank you. Assistant Chief Dave Meyer.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Police Chief Pete Sormaz.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Deputy Chief McNamara.
Nothing at this time.
Our Park Superintendent John Novosich.
Thank you. The splash pad officially opened last week. It will be open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day through Labor Day weekend. And we have our second annual Pensy bike ride. It's a night bike ride at 10 p.m. Starts at Rorman Park, goes to Centennial Park, goes back to Rorman. We're doing it in conjunction with the Munster Park Department. $10 a person, and if anyone's interested, they could register at munster.org or schererville.org. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Simstead from Nice Engineering. Andy Hansen from Public Works. Thank you. Jim Gorman, Director of Operations.
No reports.
Mr. Volkman.
No reports.
Thank you. Moving on, public comments regarding agenda items. Do we have any public comments regarding agenda items? We'd like to keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. If you'd come forward and say your name and address into the microphone.
There is no, oh. Is it on?
There isn't.
There you go.
Micah Duacek, 7705 Pershing Court. I'm here for a car lot. I believe it's item number 1985. I question partly why we're here in the first place. For the zoning and the primary approval, they were both on the agenda last week. And my question is, I'm obviously a little unfamiliar with this territory. I haven't been up here very often. But when the second item is dependent on the first, how is that even something to be discussed. It's a foregone conclusion that it have to be approved. Otherwise, why would it be on the agenda? And my question is, you know, once, let me reference the notes. I don't want to get off track here. After the residents spoke, Mr. Scheid had his say, and the floor was immediately closed with no opportunity to anything he said. The zone change, of course, was approved, directly filed by primary development approval. I don't know if that's proper protocol. I question how it got fast-tracked. I contacted some of the other surrounding municipalities. Hammond, they said that was extremely uncommon for both those items to be on the agenda at the same time. Griffith said it was highly unusual. Lake County Zoning Board in Crown Point. I talked to Christina from the Zoning Board. She said we don't do it that way here.
Madam President, sir, you must be referring back to the Planning Commission meeting?
Correct.
Okay, because naturally, several members here don't go to the Planning Commission meeting, so.
Correct.
So
That
you're,
was a quick,
so you're referring what happened last week at the Planning Commission?
yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know if that's proper protocol for both of those to be. I could understand if this anomaly, if it pertained to the public's health, welfare, or safety. How did a car lot get fast-tracked this way? It definitely displays the appearance of impropriety. I hope you look into this. A state employee I spoke to came out and directly said it sounded shady to them. Someone else joked about seeing board members or their family members, they better not be driving around in new cars. Some residents were so disillusioned by this behavior, they chose not to come here today. They thought, what's the point? They didn't think their voice would be heard, and this was a foregone conclusion that this would be automatically approved in the same way it was handled at the previous meeting. I don't believe a car lot fits in with the future land use guidelines for the town of Schererville. However, a car lot that already exists down the street benefit the town. If they wanted more land, why didn't they buy the lot next to them when it was changing hands from a Aladdin Oil to a Duke of Oil? They have one right across the street from them. The ordinance, I brought up the point about it being designated wetland area part of that property, and it also is adjacent to property owned by the city. And I said it was Department of Natural Resources, as it says in the ordinances. And when Mr. Scheid spoke, he was pretty smug and said it's not DNR, it's the Army Corps of Engineers. He said they looked at it and said okay. Now, Eric Seisel at the Army Corps of Engineers in the Chicago District, which Lake County, Indiana falls under, said Mr. Scheid should supply the exact date and the name of the person who said it's okay. They said there was to be a record no matter if they took action or inaction, just the inquiry alone. And if somebody looked at it, there would be a record. He checked his database and also 3 people that he worked with in the state of Indiana, and they all had no record of this, of him or anything about this property. And that was current as of this morning when I spoke to him. They didn't check with the Indiana Department of Environment, who worked concurrently with the Army Corps of Engineers and independently, according to Marty Mulpin, who's downstate. There is communication now through the engineer, but I don't know when that took place. It was after Marty had supplied a direct email to the engineer. Besides, also said as a reason where they are now, one of the reasons they wanted to move to Schererville was where they are now is old and run down. Northwest Indiana Times article says they were told as soon as they took over their current location, it would be remodeled and remain open for the current employees. Did they remodel as they said they were and just let the place run down, or not remodel as they said? Or did you just misstate the fact to its actual condition currently? Who's to say they won't do the same for a new property? Mr. Scheid and a board member then had a discussion about the lights to make sure they fit the appropriate that they shone directly down as per ordinance. He then let Mr. Scheid tell him he would be willing to dim the lights. Mr. Scheid told the board member that he'd be willing to dim the lights at 10 p.m., 2 hours after closing, after the sales floor closed. This is ridiculous. Why 2 hours after closing? The board made lighting stipulations to the fact that the Jaguar dealership across the street, in regards to dimming the lights, I went over there and spoke to both the sales director, Jim, and service manager about their lights. They both said, as far as they know, they were LED lights on a timer, and they were automatically dimmed as soon as they came on. I also brought up the fact that over 12 acres, for every 1 inch of rain, there's approximately 326,000 gallons of runoff. They said there would be a retention pond. I inquired further for more information, but was provided none. What's their erosion and stormwater plan? The engineer said all water runs north from Route 30. If that's true, how does it run up a hill where the park is, and why is there another designated wetland just to the west of that area? In regards to the fencing, as they showed around the property, I believe you should at least require them to include the retention pond. This pond will be almost, if not directly, behind Schererville's Fox Run Park. If you're unfamiliar with it, the playground is built for 5 to 12-year-olds. The rest of the park is over an acre on a hill, which the children sled on during winter. It's fenced in by an old split rail fence, which there are gaps which even I can walk through, so it's not keeping out anybody. The children also sled on the backside of the hill, which would be towards this retention pond. If fencing isn't required around the retention pond, it should be labeled as an attractive nuisance, and the car lot bear all financial responsibilities if any misfortune should befall a child. Other than that, I have nothing more to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business.
Any other comment?
Any other comment from the floor regarding agenda items?
Hi, my name is Crystal Hecht. I'm at 7713 Pershing Court. I'm going to follow up with more of a non-specific thing about the narrative that was going on. A lot, as mentioned before, we previously went to the planning committee, and a lot of our people voiced their opinions at the planning committee, but it was quickly dismissed. Even though their voices were heard, things were fitting in qualifications on that. So what I state here is that some of the people aren't present. But I went up and down the neighborhoods just to ask people, would you like this, new development in the area? And I had an overwhelming response of no. I went to different areas of Schererville, and all the people were saying no. I understand Schererville is a thriving town. A lot of areas are being a very helpful space for people to want to live there. But Schererville is a town that we want to attract people to live in. By having an area where potentially your property could be flooded by land of that, and to be heard and to be mentioning that you voice your opinion in the town hall and people, may not have taken your voice into consideration, it may deter some people from actually wanting to live into this town. And they may want to go to the other neighboring areas. Within this area, we also want to address the needs of how do we address the areas of the companies that want to live here, and how are they fitting the needs of the residents. When we went to the town hall and we asked a lot of questions about the specifics of the retention ponds, and that we were met with just they met the requirements and over exceeded the areas of that. A lot of the residents asked for specifics, and they'll probably ask again to bring it to your attention. But that area of the space wasn't really addressed, and I felt like it wasn't really being heard. There was a time that we got to speak, but we weren't really listened to. And I appreciate you guys here listening. You guys are here because people liked you, and they voted for you because they liked what your opinions are. And that's why we come here. We want to support you guys to make this town a big, thriving town. We want to actually make the neighborhood, be the place that makes the top 10 list of Lake County, the top 10 of Indiana. That's an area. People are relocating. I personally relocated along with my husband to this area because we thought this area was a nice and thriving area of the space. We knew that we'd be heard. I grew up in this area and I came back because I knew that my voice would be heard. But when we have our voices that are not listened to, it's a little deterring on that. It's a little hard. All we asked for is just to actually have a little bit of a space that was open zoned to be considered in the rezoning of of that area. We don't really like the rezoning of it because it doesn't meet the needs of the town, of like the property value, the need of it. And that's all we asked for. We weren't saying that we want to, eliminate whatever. We want to actually make the town thrive. We all love this area and we take pride in what we have. So my statement or question to you guys is, what are you guys looking for as a future for the town? What do you want your voices to be heard as when we actually have things coming in here? I'm excited about this splash pad. I'm excited about all this other things you guys are having. This is an area that I know that you guys will make change on. But what are you guys looking for in this retention pond change? Like, this is an open zone area. Animals, kids, all of that, utilize that space. And it could be questioned, to have it to a paved area. That questions, the town of Schererville. So that's all I ask of that.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Jason Hecht, 7713 Pershing Court. I'll be fairly quick. I just want to bring to your attention and ask that you keep in mind just how much commercialism do you think this town needs? Route 30 is already completely overrun with just chains, car dealerships, etc. This is a great residential area to live in, the town of Schererville in general, but when we have that commercialism starting to bleed into the residential areas, it's going to affect us, the town in general, in more ways than just having some of the residents annoyed. It's going to make this a worse place to live. The man behind me who is proposing to build this Subaru dealership in what is essentially our backyards, he came here last week. He claimed multiple times that he's a family man, that he's going to listen to our needs and our concerns. But I challenge him and ask him if he has a Subaru dealership in his family's backyard. I highly doubt it. This is just something he wants to do to improve his business, to fill his bank account. I just ask you to take our kids in consideration. There's tons of families in the area. It's a beautiful place to grow up right now. We just don't need this. It does nothing for the town. It does nothing for the residents. And I ask that you vote no. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Thornton, and I live at 7645 Pershing Court. Okay. Now, we're all against this dealership the way it's proposed. Don't want it the way it is. What our minimum requirement is, we don't see it. We need a 10-foot berm behind the property line from east to west with 3 rows of trees on top, a minimum 6 foot high. So when that'll be like about 16 foot. And then as they grow, 20 feet or so, that would actually block the north side of us seeing it all. Because come 6 months out of the year, we're going to be looking at that parking lot full of cars, okay? Right now, we don't see it because of the vegetation, okay? So that's all we see, for 6 months. And it's a beautiful area, wooded, this and that. If you guys really, put this in, which we don't want, these are the requirements that I think that we need to look at, okay? So that I'm addressing the north side, okay? 10-foot berm with 3 rows of trees alternating, so as they grow, they totally block the north side of the dealership. Now on the west side, okay, what I propose there is there's a park there with a nice big hill there. and there's, the property line is just scrub, trees, this and that. What I propose is that either Subaru themselves donate the trees, 2-3 rows of trees planted on that section. It's not on your property. You've been out there? Have you seen this? Where the park is at? You know the elevation of the park height to your ground zero of the dealership? You know what I'm talking about? Now, this is helping you guys, blocking the west side, because on that west side, there are actual people that are going to see this 24/7, 365 days. Okay, so I went out there and with another neighbor, and if you actually put this in, which we don't want, but this is the requirements that they have to meet with us. Now, town is, they already met the minimum requirements as we know, but we don't want to see it, and it can be easily done with, like I said, the north side with a berm, and then the town themselves putting in rows of trees in the park, 6 to 8 foot high, and we actually like to see it on the south side, so an L shape, even block off 30. So when people go to the park, all you see, you won't see 30, you won't see the dealership, and this would help block, the dealership and the other residents. And this would alleviate, putting any kind of berm or anything on the west side of the dealership. So, so that's something that you really, really got to think about. The berm can be easily put in there, and then the retention pond behind it, whatever. They can redesign that and meet our requirements. Bottom line, we don't want to see that thing at all, 24/7, 365. They've met the other requirements of sound, lighting, and this and that, which we all ironed out there. But bottom line is, when we're sitting in our living rooms, this and that, looking out wintertime, snow's falling, we don't want to see a parking lot full of cars. So that's what I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Doug Pearson. I live at 7637 Pershing Courts. I have a concern about the watershed behind the properties on Pershing Court. Frequently during the spring we get a lot of heavy rains and the water comes up into our backyards. The concern is, and I'm sure everybody's looked at it, I'm a little worried. Asphalt doesn't allow the water to slow down like it would anywhere else. And there's going to be a lot more water come back there. I know you've talked about a retention pond so you can gauge how big it should be. But if the outlet from that drain isn't the appropriate size, there's going to be a lot more water in that watershed behind all the properties there. The second thing I would ask you to look at has already been brought up a couple times is one of the beautiful things about our property is that we have the woods behind us, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But during the wintertime when all the foliage is gone, it's going to be pretty bright from that parking lot. So I have no ill will towards Subaru, but I would hope they would consider that berm that would go around the park. Because when I look over at Briar Ridge, they have a berm around the entire community with trees on it now that are fully matured. It's difficult to see into those houses, which is a nice thing for them. I would ask you to consider, both parties, our city representatives and Subaru, to put a berm up that's high enough and plant trees that are on top of it that will mitigate the impact that it has on the people who live there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comments regarding agenda items? No? Then we will move on to new business. Item A, ordinance 1271B, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 1271A, being an ordinance amending town ordinance number 1271, being an ordinance amending the ordinance establishing the schedule of rates and charges collected by the town of Schererville from the owners of the property served by the wastewater treatment works of the town to raise sufficient revenues to pay bonded indebtedness and operate the utility, repealing all ordinances and parts thereof in conflict herewith and all matters related hereto. This is the first reading.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, this is the same as the resolution I talked about in the utility board meeting. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. As you stated, this is the first reading. There'll be a public hearing next month, and the second reading will happen at the same time.
No questions.
No discussion?
No. Madam President, I'd move to, on first reading, approve ordinance number 1271B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Item B, ordinance 1985, an ordinance amending town zoning ordinance number 1797 as amended, the same being an ordinance classifying, regulating, and restricting the location, height, area, bulk, and use of buildings and structures, and the use of the land in the town of Schererville, and for said purposes dividing the town into districts and all the matters related thereto. Plan Commission Case Number 22-8-10. The petitioners, Ziegler Auto Group, general location, north side of US 30, west side of Burr Street. Rezone from Highway Commercial C3 and Open Land OS to all Highway Commercial C3 zoning district. Plan Commission favorable recommendation to the Town Council 7-0 on 8/1 of 22.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Schubert property located just west of Clarendale, south and east of Fox Run Estates. It was used for farming, and most of it is zoned open land, as we know. The 350-foot southern portion is zoned C3 currently, and the Ziegler Auto Group is looking to rezone it all to C3 to make their development so they can cover drainage, parking, etc. And as you stated, came with a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
You know, we take recommendations from the Plan Commission very seriously, but what I'm hearing tonight is, and we've had very little time to discuss as a council, I think it would be in our best interest and the best interest of the residents if we table this for now, we defer this item to discuss a little bit further as a council and perhaps discuss some of the concerns, some of the asks in terms of the berm, you know, additional trees, because making a decision based on, like I said, we take the recommendation very seriously of our Plan Commission. We trust them. We entrust them for representing us and gathering the information. You know, if questions are answered, there still might be remonstrance, but the questions, you know, were answered. In this case, I'm not hearing that. I think there's some open issues here that we need to answer, and we're obligated to do that. That's my opinion. Not a slight against the Plan Commission. They do a great job for us. They really do. And with that being said, I would make a motion to defer Ordinance 1985.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think we should discuss the petition, ask the petitioners to come up and give us their presentation, ask them some questions so that we can get some answers to some of the concerns that were raised by our residents here today, and then potentially make a decision or defer if we don't get sufficient answers. I guess that's the way I see this proceeding forward instead
I'll
of
retract my
deferring.
motion
Okay.
and allow the petitioner to
Okay.
present.
So,
Give a second too as well.
Dave,
I'm sorry. Caleb,
what were you going to say?
I was going to suggest the town needs to withdraw his.
Yes, I'll withdraw
after
my
that
second.
For procedural propriety.
and we do have our petitioner here? Yes.
Sorry, I think we should ask some questions so that we can get some answers.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity to present our petition here. I think that's important that you hear all sides of it here. I will comment that, when we first met with the town of Schererville many months ago, Mr. Volkman was very helpful, helping us understand a little of the history on the site that we're talking about and some of the uses and some of the obstacles and things like that, and we took that into consideration when we were looking at it. But first, let me tell you a little bit about us. So we're the Ziegler Auto Group. We're based out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. We have 35 dealerships located throughout Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin, as well as Michigan. We're very well capitalized. We're a family business. So the name is on the building for a reason, because we care about our customers. We care about every single employee, 2,500 employees, and we find it very important to own up to everything that we do. We'd love you to vote tonight. We'd love you to vote in favor tonight. I challenge you to go look at our properties and look how we maintain our properties. We maintain beautiful properties. We invest in them, and there's no question that what we're going to provide here is a well-suited opportunity for this property.
On that note, I hate to jump in, but I guess I would ask, how do you respond to the residents' comment that you left the other place because it was old and it was dilapidated and you're moving on, but you were supposed to have remodeled that?
So that isn't a correct statement. So let me give you a little background there. So we acquired the Subaru dealership located in Maryville, just down the road a number of miles, a year ago, July. And yes, that was a very dilapidated building. That's how we bought it, right? And that is not how we operate our properties. So we had a conversation with Subaru. In fact, Subaru required us to redevelop somewhere a new Subaru, beautiful facility that is in your package that you see there. The property where we're located is something like 3 acres. Impossible to develop that property for our uses. So before we even closed on that transaction last April, we knew that we had to go find alternate sites. And we looked up and down Route 30. Route 30 is where the commercial is. I mean, that's where we wanted to be. We knew where it was. And we looked at what was happening in Schererville, like I said, met with Mr. Volkman, saw the development here, saw the dealerships that are thriving here, saw the community, and we knew we wanted to be here. We had an opportunity to buy property right across from where we're at in Maryville, but we looked at this as a better site. And let's just address this site. This became a perfect site for us. It's 15 acres. We don't need 15 acres to develop. In fact, we're going to develop less than 2/3 of this site. The southern half of the site is already Zone C3. 100% of our operations, 100% of the dealership, the parts, the service, the sales, the showroom, will be on the property that is Zone C3. 100%, okay? And from that property to the neighbors to the north, there's 3 football fields. And from that property to the neighbors to the west, there's 2 football fields. Okay, so there's a lot of space. The burden, the hardship on this particular development is, for C3, you have to have parking. I don't care what it is. If it's a restaurant, if it's retail, whatever it is, you have to have parking. And I would argue we are a way better suited business to go on that property than just about anything else. You take a restaurant, 7 days operation, late hours, you add a bar feature in there, then you get that type of traffic in there. They could come in and develop that really without any rezoning, without anything. They just come in and it's already Zone C3. And you're going to have lights on at night till midnight, 1 in the morning, whatever a restaurant runs. We're operating the southern section of the site that is already Zone C3. We don't run 7 days a week. We don't run late hours. Yes, we said the lights, if we got to dim them at 9 o'clock or whatever, all I need is safety for my employees to walk back to their cars. That's all I need. So the rezone site is strictly parking. And it's parking for basically our employees and then just inventory. All the activity happens on the southern part of the site, which is already Zone C3. But again, the burden for this site is to be able to develop it. You need that space that's just to the north of it. As I mentioned, we're going to develop less than 2/3 of this site. So you've got the pond and some of the objections and the questions at the Planning Commission from the neighbors. And I care about the neighbors. They probably suggest I'm this big bad guy. I don't care about them. I really do. And by the way, I was sitting in their chair about 6 years ago when they put in a great big assisted living, whatever, next to my neighborhood. I went to the meeting, spoke cordially. The site went in, it's fine, but they have, you got, trucks coming in all night, doing the delivery. So I get it, you know what I mean? But, you learn to work with the neighbors. And we work, with the neighbors. We want to be a good neighbor. But having said that, so this site, the neighbors challenged us on the drainage. Well, I would argue it's going to be a better position when we're done because it doesn't have a pond today. you're going to put in a pond that is over-engineered. The pond is engineered. My engineer is here today. He's welcome to answer any questions you have about the drainage and the overflow and things like that. I've worked with the engineer, Mr. Oppenheimer, with Joseph Shute on many, many projects, very complicated projects up in Illinois. He knows what he's doing.
Well, I guess again, I'll jump in if I could.
Yep.
Maybe, Mr. Engineer, can you come up and answer the question about how this is over-engineered? Give us some specifics about what this is going to do to benefit the landowners downstream or downflow to the north.
Yes, my name is Warren Opperman from Joseph Shute and Associates, civil engineers, land surveyors from Mokina, Illinois. Like Mr. Scheit had indicated, we've worked with him on several projects. In this particular site, from Route 30 to the north, where the existing wetlands are located, there was approximately 20 feet of grade differential, starting at the right-of-way of Route 30 to the wetland line to the north. And what happens in that 20 feet of differential, right now all that water is running straight to the north to the wetland area, unrestricted. Granted, it is vegetated right now, but what is happening is all the water is running off unrestricted. When we develop, we have to look at what the drainage ordinances are, make sure that we meet those, but try to exceed those, which we have done here. So what we have on the north end of our site is we are capturing all the runoff from our site and restricting it and controlling it, which does not take place at all right now. There is, of the 15.1 acres of the overall property, approximately 4 of those acres to the north is totally untouched. So then we get down to a little bit under 11 acres, approximately 10.8 acres of developed property. 2.5 acres of that is detention area. So we have provided detention and stormwater runoff, which does not take place right now. And we do control that. We have a restrictor. We have a detention basin that in the ultimate high water elevation is less than 3 foot of depth. So it's not, it's a dry basin or a wetland basin at all times, but when it does fill up, it will be less than 3 foot depth of water. So we are very cognizant of the park being right next door. And for that reason, we have, fortunately, we do have the area, as Mr. Scheit indicated, to be able to provide that and in excess of what would typically be required.
That 3-foot height is at the restrictor pipe, not at the, if the restrictor pipe is plugged and it goes up to the overflow berm.
If it goes up to the, if the restrictor is plugged, it gets to that 3-foot height. If the restrictor is open and operating, it is approximately 2-foot depth of water elevation in the pond, which is very low for a detention pond. But again, it's because we have the opportunity for the space. That property is approximately 530 feet wide, east-west. And we do have the opportunity to provide that. We've provided for the actual Subaru building improvement site itself, for the parking that Subaru requires for this size facility, and with that we have this available room to provide the excess amount of detention. It works out quite nicely. One of the residents indicated about some of that water does not run to the north. It definitely all runs to the north. We've provided all the calculations. I think Mr. Simstat has reviewed those calculations, and all that water runs to the north. We do understand that the residents further to the north I don't remember what street that is that runs east-west. We do understand that there is drainage coming to them, and we actually will be controlling that. Now, what happens with their elevations at their existing homes, sounds like they may have been built, possibly not in accordance with the regulations, but we are actually controlling the stormwater and holding that back from what's taking place now.
So I'm trying to boil it down for layman's terms here. I asked our engineer, I said, what are the calculations that they have to meet? What's the minimum or regulation that they have to meet? He said something along the lines of 2.04 acre foot calculation. I'm not sure what the storage. And my understanding is that your guys' detention volume is over that, and you reach 3.83 acre feet of storage, which is almost twice as much as the minimum requirement based on the size of your detention pond and how high the berm is. Is that?
That is correct, and even above that, we have an ultimate overflow. You have to have some type of an overflow on a detention basin. You don't want it to reach the top without any kind of a spillway. So we do have an emergency spillway that provides 4 acre feet of detention by the time it gets to the emergency spillway. So what is a design requirement is approximately 2 acre feet of storage. Our detention basin is up to 4 acre feet before it would overflow.
So twice as much, essentially.
Correct.
And I guess I'm just trying to boil it down so that our residents hear that what we require is 2 acre feet, and what you've come in response to their concerns. We've done these calculations. We're looking at how we can help to alleviate the downstream concerns, and you guys have done that, and you've come up with these calculations, and they are well in excess of the minimum requirements.
That is correct. A couple of the other items are lighting. In addition to what Mr. Scheid has indicated as far as, dimming lights or lights off, except for safety lights for employees or whatever. There are very strict requirements as far as what kind of lights spill over at the property lines, and we have been very cognizant of that and made sure that, we are not spilling over our site lighting. There's light shields, there's down lights. We have to be very aware of that. And we understand that, again, that there's neighborhoods in the nearby vicinity. We did look, the closest home to the west is approximately 700 feet from our property line, and to the north is approximately 1,000 to 1,100 feet from the developed part, which would be the parking lot of the site.
I kind of liked the gentleman's comment, I didn't get his name, about we don't want to see this. Is it possible for you guys to put in a natural green barrier to the north and a natural green barrier to the west around the park so that we don't have residents being able to see your guys' parking lot and the lights and things? Can we work that in without ruining our drainage system and plan and help these residents out?
Let me answer the business side. I can't answer the drainage. He can answer that. The answer is within reason, right? One of the gentlemen asked for basically a forest. I can't put in a forest. I mean, that's prohibitive. But we can work with the site plan, and we're putting in some trees, right? We can move them around. We can switch them to, substantial. We can switch them to evergreens, whatever it is. So we have a substantial tree count. We don't care where they go. If you want to put them on the berm, we can work with you on that. If we have to add a few to put it in. Again, we have to be practical. Okay, we'd ask for that. One thing I would say is we don't have any variances. We didn't come looking for any variances. That's why this property was absolutely perfect. It's huge. It's far away from the neighbors. I'm developing less than half of the site that we're talking about today as it relates to rezoning. Okay, The part that is already zoned commercial is where my operation is. It's a perfect site, and I truly believe we're the perfect user for the site, because the alternative, like I mentioned, could be a 7-day-a-week restaurant, retailer, whatever you want. You know what I mean? We run limited hours. We don't have the traffic patterns that restaurants do in the morning, at noon, and at night. We are, you know, I think the neighbors would really come to learn that we are not overly burdensome when it comes to being a neighbor. So the answer is yes, from a business standpoint. I'd have to let Warren answer it from the engineering standpoint.
Madam President, I'm sorry, what's your name, sir?
My name? Yeah, so Daniel Scheid. So I'm the CFO at Ziegler.
Scheid.
Yeah, we kind of got going there pretty quick without.
Madam President, I have a couple quick questions for him since he's on the operations side.
Sure.
And since we're talking about the actual development itself and not so much just strictly on the zoning change, I'm looking at the print and I see that you are talking 1,050 feet of open area to the north and 750 feet to the west. Okay, some of that's already wooded area now, right?
No, we take out very little wooded area. If any, I don't think we take any trees out. You go out there, we don't,
No.
there's,
I'm saying off-site, it's wooded area already, right?
Tom's saying that everything to the north of your
Oh,
retention
yes.
pond is already wooded.
yes, densely, and I understand it in the wintertime, the leaves fall, but yes, very densely wooded.
And I do have to agree with you. I guess I'll reveal my age, but I've been here in Sherville long enough to see previous developers try to come in that area where they wanted to put a store and stuff where any type of retail store would have the building all the way back to their property line that they can get to the north, and then all the parking would be up by Route 30. And I know over the years we've had people come in looking. And so you're right about your type of development, about your business is all in the front. It's in the commercial area in the front of the land that you're seeking, and then the back part would strictly be for parking for your cars and different things. So that part of it is I totally agree with you. The part about the tree lines and the berm for the people, mostly to the people by the park. I've been in that cul-de-sac many times, and that it would be nice to have the tree berm. We just had a development going on in Schererville on Burr Street to the north of that, where they came in and put a berm from the main road to the subdivision. So I think that's something that we would highly consider with a tree line of berm, with a large berm there, so they don't see your business in the fall and winter. And as far as the retention pond is basically all to the north, and that's all wooded area too. We're talking 1,050 feet. That's quite a buffer, where any other business would be probably within 200 feet. So I agree with you, but I'll go back to your engineer to have him talk more about the drainage part of it. Thank you.
There is a small amount of drainage to the west of us. There's some additional property, I think it's also owned by Mr. Schubert, that's for sale. I'm not sure how many acres are left over there, but part of that property drains on the north side of on the south side of the park, and drains around to the north and drains through our site. And we do have to accommodate that. We can't block his drainage. We can't shut him off. So we have some storm sewer on our site to pick that up and drain that through. Presumably, when they develop that property to the west, they will have to handle their stormwater in some way, shape, or form, detention, whatever that might be, when they develop. But for the present time, it's undeveloped, and we have to accommodate their stormwater that comes off that property. So we've done that, but everything on our property is controlled, everything up to the detention pond, because the north is not developed, but everything up to and including the detention pond is controlled and restricted. That property to the west, because that low spot comes through there, it will be difficult to provide a berm across there because that's already the low. As high as the parkland is, as you get closer to the west and closer to the actual park equipment that's over in that area, as you get closer there, it is rather high. There is a rather high knoll there. But when you get to our property line, to the common property line, it's relatively low. And we are actually building up our site to our property line as much as we're able to, but we do have to keep that low area from Mr. Schubert's property coming from the west.
So a berm wouldn't be possible, but we could put a green barrier through there on the high side so that we don't have a blockage of the flow of drainage, but we could still block the light and block the view.
As much as we're able to. I don't know if you've looked at our landscape plan that was provided in the package.
Yes.
It
I've
is
seen it.
very extensive landscaping. East side, west side, north side. Even in addition to what that wooded area is, there's very extensive landscaping that we have proposed to meet and exceed the Schererville ordinance because of the residents that are in the vicinity.
Let me just add, I'm not opposed to the business. Typically, when there's a new development, stormwater drainage improves. That's a fact. I did live through this when the Toyota dealership went in, over by Plum Creek. There were residents on the east side of that subdivision, and they knew at some point, because that property was zoned commercial, that at some point somebody was going to build there. And the reason that I want to just take a little bit of time to make sure, with the modifications that we're asking, let's take a look on paper. I want to make sure the best we can that we're addressing the concerns, okay? And that's what we did with the Toyota dealership, with the neighbors. We thought it through. They worked with us. We came up with a game plan. After the development went through, we had to tweak a couple of things, but they're much closer proximity, the Toyota dealership, to residents than your business is. I just want to make sure that, because it just sounded to me that there were unanswered questions, okay? And I would like to pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not denying by any means, but I would like a little more time to see what the final plan is going to look like.
So do we have a motion?
I guess what I'd like to do, here's how I guess I see this. Gentlemen, what I'd like to do is I have some thoughts on things that I'd like to see changed about your plan in order for me to feel comfortable granting a variance. It sounds like others have concerns as well, and that's why they want to defer. So what I'd like to do is, at this point, I'd like to present to you guys the things that I'd like to see changed about your plan. And then at that point, maybe we can defer, and if you guys agree to those changes and you want to change those plans, then next month we can present your renewed or changed plan, and we can go forward with the variance then, or the zone change then. Because I'm uncomfortable just changing the zoning for this entire property without some concerns by the residents being met. And I'm afraid that our plan commission didn't listen to them and didn't address those concerns in the development plan. And I think that this is our last opportunity here today to be able to address those residents' concerns. So what I would like to see is a landscaping addition. I like your landscaping plan as it is currently, but I would like to see a landscaping addition to include some sort of a all-year-long green barrier between your lot and the detention pond to the north. I would like to see some sort of a green barrier plan, evergreen trees and things to the west, And that may have to include some cooperation with the parks, because if the trees are going to go on the high side, it's going to be on the park side, because your property is where the drainage is. I'd also like to see a turn lane in US 30 at the intersection, because I think that's going to be necessary if you guys are going to have eastbound traffic turning north into your subdivision or into your road. That's got to be there, and I think that's something that you got to apply to NDOT. You got to get that going. Same thing with westbound, having a decel lane there. I think it's there now, but I'm not certain that it's clearly articulated in your plan. Also, I think that I think one of the conditions I would want to put on you guys as part of the zone change is that you would share in the cost of a light, if a light is warranted at some point in the future. If there's further development to the north, if there's houses that are put in and the intersection ultimately warrants a light, that you guys would share in that cost. And lastly, I guess I have concern about the detention pond itself. I think that our neighbor that spoke earlier about some sort of security, some sort of protection for our children that are playing at the park is warranted. I'm not sure what is necessary to do that, but I think that some sort of a security or safety plan there to make sure that our kids are not going in there and playing and drowning. I don't want to see that happen, and I'm sure you don't want to see that happen as a neighbor. So some sort of security for that. I would also throw out the possibility, I don't know if this is possible, truthfully, because I don't know the rules. Is there a way for that north 6 acres or whatever it is, 5.5 acres, to remain zoned open land? And the only thing that we change in zoning is the parking lot south. Is there a way to do that as a town? Are we allowed to do that? Are you guys allowed to limit the zone change request? Because it may change in the future. You guys may not be there for the rest in perpetuity and for the rest of the days. So the next guy that comes along now has all 15 acres zoned commercial, and I don't want to see a later petition saying, I've already got this zoned commercial, I'm going to fill in that wetland, and I'm going to build a mall or something else there. So if there's a possibility where we can pull back the zone change to only what is absolutely necessary, right, the north border of your parking lot is the line, I would love to see that, because I don't want to see any further development to the north. And I guess that's my position.
Madam President.
Yes.
Caleb, with regard to your last point.
Yes.
You can require under the Indiana Code a contractual commitment limiting the use of that north piece that you just talked about to storm drainage facility, to what is identified on the site plan, recordable, runs with the land. It would impose that condition forevermore until
So we can
change.
put that restriction on there, and it can never change.
You can.
We have that right now as a conservation easement for that wetland area. So that's set up on the plans on the primary and.
That'll work also.
So, and would that apply, though, to the detention area as well?
That's a stormwater drainage and detention easement, so that in itself would be.
Another further limit.
An easement also.
So to calm our neighbors to the north and to the west, that can't change at some future point is what I'm hearing.
Without them coming back here, no.
All right. All right. Thank you.
So may I respond to your comments?
Yeah, please.
So generally speaking, most of that works, right? I mean, I already said we can work with the township on readjusting the landscape plan to shift the trees over to the, like I said, we're adding a lot of landscaping, so no problem putting them there. We can work the parks to put the trees up on the hill, whatever it might be. Certainly on the detention, we'll look at what security measures we can look at. Not opposed at all to the restrictions on whether it's a deed restriction or the conservation easement, whatever it is. I would ask the council to vote tonight. I would ask for a favorable vote tonight. We're willing to do all these things, willing to do them contingent on, if you make it contingent on this, We have not purchased the property yet. Our closing is contingent on this happening, and, so we, as business works, you got to keep moving, and we have obligations to Subaru and other interested parties. And so, we've worked with the township to come up with a plan. As I mentioned, we have no variances. We've met all of the requirements and exceeded them. So I'm willing to work those out, Mr. Johnson and council members. If we put a restriction on vote, if it's contingent on reshifting the landscaping, but in order for us to continue moving forward, I would ask for a vote tonight. We started the process many months ago, and I would like to continue.
Madam President.
Yes.
Your agenda reflects this is a 2-reading ordinance. That's not the law in Indiana. It's a 1-reading ordinance for a zone map amendment. So if you do it tonight, that's one thing. If you wait next month's meeting or a meeting to be scheduled, however you deem appropriate, it takes a single reading when you show up with whatever your conditions or requirements are.
Thank you.
Madam President, Mr. Austin, or maybe Bob can answer this. So what, are you saying this takes 2 readings?
No, sir, I say it takes 1. It shows as 2 on the agenda.
Okay. It's a 1 reading approval.
It is.
And Mr. Austin, can you explain what would be the next step in the process, or Bob, either one, if the rezoning is approved, do they move on to their primary approval, or have they already had primary approval?
They have already been granted primary approval based on their site plan, site development plan, and contingent upon the action of this board on the zoning request. And just as a point of clarification, their current landscaping plan has 75 trees in it. So, where those trees are, they've said they don't care where they're at. So that actually is an opportunity. They've met all of our landscaping, pretty stringent requirements that the town has for both drainage and landscaping.
There is also the opportunity to work certain aspects out, as mentioned, through into a final plat approval. The Plan Commission still needs to grant, ultimately, before any permits issue, a final plat approval. So that's out there as another step, procedurally and substantively.
I have a question for John. John, can you accommodate plantings in the park? Yes.
Yeah, sure, we got space there. We've actually planted a few trees the last couple of years.
Okay. They keep talking about planting trees. I was thinking, we should ask John if he's got space to accommodate those trees. If that would be part of the plan, is to put additional trees there to provide screening.
I said I can move forward.
We don't even have a motion right now. We don't even have a motion.
I think
Madam
to
President.
summarize,
Yes.
the north part of the property is already restricted. It's either wetlands now, and they've designated that as a conservation easement, so nothing can change there irregardless of the zoning. And same with the retention pond. So the back of the property can't change from what they've proposed because it's already restricted by the easements being granted in the plotting. And where we put the screen, it sounds like we've addressed most of the issues that these, other than the fact that they don't want anything, you've addressed those development issues of screening the site. It's certainly going to provide almost double it provides double the amount of drainage that exists there currently.
I would like to ask the residents, and just by a show of hands, given what you've heard now with the proposed changes, the agreed to changes by the petitioner, do you feel like your concerns have been addressed?
I'm seeing no.
I'm not seeing any hands being raised. So I think with that being,
We open it to the
can we open it to the floor again and have further comment?
You can.
I mean, maybe they have something additional that we're not understanding. I thought we addressed most everything.
I mean, there were requests for a berm. We understand now that there is additional green space as part of the plan, and trees as part of the plan. Perhaps that wasn't, made clear in the previous meeting. You clarified stormwater drainage. That's always a concern, but it always improves with any new development. And like I said, I lived through this when Toyota went through, which is in much closer proximity to residents. It wasn't, a zone request back then. It was already zone commercial. But just, going through that change, we spent a lot of time with the residents, and with the business, and they made modifications. We had it all on paper, and then we hit go. And at that point, the residents were like, okay, fine, if they do all that, we're good. And that's where I'm at. I just want to make sure that the residents understand, what you're doing and what you're willing to do, right? I'm not opposed to the project. I represent these residents, and I am pro-business. I don't want you to go anywhere else. But I think we just need to make sure that these new items are on paper, we're looking at it, the same way, and then we vote on it. I'm fine if we want to bring them back up. Maybe there's, kind of a less of a gap now.
Is there anyone that would like to take the floor again to speak?
Thank you.
Hi, Crystal Hecht, 7713 Pershing. Well, first off, I want to say thank you to everyone that's actually taking our voices heard. You guys are taking the time to listen to us, our needs, our concerns, the concerns of the future. And I mentioned it before. We're here as a team. We're here to develop the town together. We're looking to address the needs, and I can't thank you guys enough for addressing all of the issues. And my main concern is, as anyone, I like to see it on paper before I actually confirm anything. I hear a lot of things, and I like hearing things. We all like to hear what we do, but I never had, when I got a notification, I didn't get a proposal of what the thing was going to look. We had to look it up online. I had to do, and I didn't know. I had a neighbor show me. I didn't have anyone tell me, this is the plan of it. And I appreciate and I understand, maybe there's strategy involved. I looked on the agenda. I didn't see anything on there, but I would appreciate a little bit more thought and so we can actually see it versus hear it, because hearing is one thing, seeing is another thing, action is the biggest thing. You guys are here because people acted on it. We liked you, we like what you guys are acting on, and we're here to be your voice, and we're here to tell everyone to advocate for you, to say that we like what you guys are doing, and you guys are advocating for us. We're a team here. So I'm just like you. I'm pro-business. I support the little guy. I go to all the independent restaurants to support them in all of the towns. I support all of the shops, independently, because I want people to thrive. I know people are here because they're doing the good. And that's why, my voice and everyone else's voice, we didn't want to raise our hand because we didn't see anything. We just heard things. So, I apologize that would put a damper on it, but it would make everyone feel good to actually see things and actually have it. So that's just my opinion, but I'll leave it if anyone else wants to say anything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Steve Thornton, 7645 Pershing Court. Mr. Johnson, excellent thing about rezoning that area, because that was greatly one of our concerns if the business changes hands some way or another. That's excellent. But there's enough area in there. Bottom line is, you people here, you put yourself in our place, Mr. Connolly, excellent, where we have to see this thing, 6 months out of the year, okay? We don't want to see it. And not only that, I think being Subaru, okay, on that north side with evergreens, I didn't say the, proper tree, an evergreen thing, Can you imagine driving by on 30 and seeing this, and then behind there is this, evergreen forest? Wouldn't that look great for Subaru? Okay? We don't want to see the dealership. I gave you an out for the west side because of, the park. If you allow, the 2-3 rows of evergreens on that west side, and then I also would like to see it on the south side, depending, on whoever moves in onto that area. So, like I said, there's people over there, Mr. Smith, been there. There's houses that will see that place 24/7. We're not against the business, somewhat. We don't want to see it there, but again, this is the lesser of evils to put in there, okay? And all we ask is that they accommodate us, okay? They met your requirements. We went through all this thing. It would have been nice if the residents were asked to be in ground zero meeting before they even laid out all these plans, because they could have actually, maybe addressed our concerns and put them in. But we want to see some kind of berm with the evergreen trees that will actually block that north view. The west side, we're giving them an out where the town property has a perfect area to put those evergreen trees on that hill, on that side, 2-3 rows, interlocking, so 6 foot high, and then they grow, 20 feet high, because they're putting in a 2-story building, as you know, okay? So that's 20 feet, okay? So, again, that location of the park is perfect to help hide that. So they don't have to do basically that much landscaping on the west side of their property. So, like I said, I wish you take into consideration and table this and let them draw something out to hide the property like our residents want to do. You know what? I know you're going to put the business in. Like I said, lesser of all evils, fine, okay? But address our concerns. And we don't want to, come wintertime, we sit out there in our living rooms, look out, and see the snow and this and that. I know they want to see cars covered with snow, okay? And it can be easily done some way, somehow. And then they can have their business, and they can be a good neighbor. They want to be a neighbor? Here you go. We'll let you in. Just, do this. And we're only talking of the north side from the east to west of their property line, and the town letting the plant in the park. That's all we're asking. That's not asking very much. And they're worth what, billions? What was your company worth? You said last at the planning meeting? Well, they've got the money to put a berm in there and the ample amount of trees to cover that, and that will actually look much better for their business in the long run. So when those trees grow, 20, 30 feet high, that's actually going to look, beautiful for their business. So again, we don't want to see the business. It can be there, but just go with us with this. That's all we're asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again, Jason Hecht, 7713 Pershing Court. I'd just like to tell you why I don't feel our concerns have been met. Number one, the notice issue. I do understand that there's a legal minimum requirement that was met for notice, but I do want to reiterate that many of our neighbors, they still really have no idea what was going on. We tried our best to spread the word as much as we could. It's not really feasible on such short notice for us to tell everyone in the neighborhood. And on top of that, we're not fully aware of what exactly is going on, or at least we didn't have much information until we came here tonight. The last meeting that we went to, honestly, it seemed like it was decided before we even got there. It was just, as has been stated and I think shown, none of our concerns were addressed at that meeting, and they tell us come back a week later for the vote. As to what was specifically said tonight, Mr. Johnson, I appreciate all the points you brought up. I think they were all crucial things to think about and to put into action if this does go forward. But the responses that you were given, I didn't think they were adequate. You talked about, I know my neighbor mentioned an attractive nuisance with that detention pond. You talked about it seemed like you were asking for specifics about some security measures that would go into place there. All he says is, yeah, we could put some security measures. I didn't hear anything specific. So I have a 9-month-old daughter. I don't know how safe that area is going to be. There's no more clarity on that than before you asked that question. Secondly, about the trees, similar response. Yeah, we could put trees there. Nothing specific. As my wife was saying, you know, it's basically just talk. We don't have any action. We don't have anything written down. So that gap is still there for me. I don't have clarity, and I'm still not comfortable with it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Madam President, at this point, I don't think anything's changed in terms of addressing all the concerns that we'd like to see. Everything documented, have a chance to review it, not deny it, but I do think we owe it to the residents to make sure that we're absolute in answering their questions. So with that being said, I make a motion to defer.
Second?
We have a motion to defer. We have a second. Do we need a roll call? Yes, could you do a roll call?
I'm voting yes.
To defer.
Yes, to defer. Had to think about
Yes.
what the motion was.
Can I make a comment? When would be the next meeting?
September 14th.
Can we call a sooner meeting?
Well, you guys can do whatever you want, yeah.
We could put it on top of the study session on the
August 24th.
24th.
You could,
That's a busy day.
24th?
if you want. if you
Schedule a
so
public
choose.
meeting for 8. Because we got a study session at
Yeah,
6 that's going to last 2 hours easily.
You have a study session.
It's at 5?
No, you can have this
6.
one at 5.
Oh, we could have this meeting before, right at 5. That's probably better. You guys don't want to sit through that study session. It's going to be long.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
5 o'clock on
5
the
o'clock on the
24th?
24th. And it would be a public meeting.
And I guess what I would ask, just to add to the comments, I know we have a motion and a second, if we can have updated plans and have some copies, at least one public copy ready here, maybe 4:30, so that our residents can come, spend half an hour or 15 minutes at a minimum looking through the updated plan, and we can get a sense of what you've done to try and accommodate their concerns and our concerns here on the council. Just for you guys, that would be my request. Sorry, Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President, I have one question for the gentleman from Ziegler. Gentlemen, will you be able to be at the 24th meeting?
We have an insurance meeting, we're on the board of insurance company, so we'll be gone. That date doesn't work.
Meeting on the 31st.
We have a meeting on the 31st also. We have
We do.
Oh, yeah,
6
first.
o'clock and a 7 o'clock. We could do this at 5 on the 31st.
At 5 o'clock?
And
30
give us more time to prepare plans, too.
Yeah.
We're 2 weeks.
And when
31st
they're-
works?
When they're done, drop them off at Town Hall, and I'm going to take the time to come in and review them prior to the 31st. And we could have them available to residents, too. So just, Mr. Volkman will let us know when you submitted them, and I promise you we'll review them immediately.
Thank you, sir. So now we have that motion we need to vote on. Roll call, right? I said yes.
We're on Tom.
Tom was voting.
Yes.
Yes. So the motion carries to defer 4-0. And we will have a meeting
Special
on
meeting.
August 31st
August 31st at 5
p.m.
p.m. Thank you to everyone. Moving on to item C, ordinance 1986, an ordinance adopting legislation recently promulgated by the Indiana General Assembly, eliminating the utility receipt tax for water rates imposed upon the town municipal water utility ratepayers, amending the rates and charges collected by the town of Schererville Municipal Water Utility from its ratepayers, and all matters related thereto. This is the first reading.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, the Indiana General Assembly recently adopted legislation reducing this tax, or eliminating, I'm sorry, this tax. It comes out to about a 1.4% decrease. We will have to refund some of our ratepayers for that decrease. And this is first reading. It'll be another one next month.
Okay. Thank you. Madam President,
Public
Yes.
hearing, I'm sorry.
in September, correct?
Correct.
Madam President, move to approve on first reading ordinance 1986.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item D, consider approval to extend Families First Coronavirus Response Act, the FFCRA, which expired July 31st, 2022, to compensate up to 80 hours paid leave to employees that are off work due to COVID-19, retroactive August 1st, 2022, and expiring September 30th, 2022.
Thank you, Madam President. We're just looking for an extension on this. We've done it before in the past. We've had, with the recent uprise in COVID positive cases, we've had some with the town employees. We've had, in June, we had 4. We had 7 more in July, and so far this month, we have 2. So we're looking for your consideration on acting on this extension. Thank you.
Move to approve, Madam President.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item E, consider acceptance of right-of-way dedication easement agreement between Toyota RE 41 LLC and the town of Schererville, the service road commonly known as 400 Indianapolis Boulevard.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the service road that's just behind Bona Beef and McAllister's. There's basically 3 property owners that they own part of the service road, and we're looking for right-of-way. So they have already, Team Toyota has already paved it, and we're looking to take ownership and put that road in our inventory.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, please, just one question. I might have missed it, you might have said it. The road is now brought up to our standards with the paving
It is.
and everything? Okay.
It is.
Thank you, yeah. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item F, consider approval to purchase property located at 396 Kennedy Avenue, Schererville, Indiana, from Broderick Benjamin LLC, the amount of $195,000, and authorize the town manager, director of operations, clerk treasurer, and town attorney to finalize the execution of documents. The Kennedy Avenue extension.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a property that's just came up for sale north of Oak Street on Kennedy Avenue. And we do need right-of-way for our Kennedy Avenue extension, and we may be able to use this property for that as well as maybe some drainage. So since the opportunity came up, we would like to purchase that.
Move to approve, Madam President.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item G, consider approval to purchase property located at 7425 West 77th Avenue, Schererville, Indiana, from the Wilson Living Trust in the amount of $308,000, and to authorize the town manager, director of operations, clerk treasurer, and the town attorney to finalize the execution of documents.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Wilson property that's just west of the current Ileana property that the town owns. It consists of about 6.66 acres, and we'd like to use this property to extend the park amenities that we plan on building there someday. Make that park a little bigger.
Thank you.
Madam President, Mr. Gorman, this is also the property that's going to help us on that property to get back out to Roman Road, correct?
No, that is not correct. That's the other property just to the southwest of that.
This is the property that connects us to 77th on the west. So
Okay.
it will connect,
But it does connect us to 77.
Yes.
correct, to the roundabout.
Move to approve, Madam President.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item H, award the bid for the Community Crossing Grant 2022-1.
Madam President, I'll defer that to our town engineer, Mr. Simstad. We had 3 bidders. The range of the bidders was from $2,471,643.79 to $3,094,916.22. The bidders all submitted the required bid security and non-collusion affidavit, and there were no errors in the bids that were submitted. Based on a review of the bids, the recommendation would be to the lowest, most responsive and responsible bidder, which would be Reith Riley Construction Company Incorporated, in the amount of $2,471,643.79. Any questions?
Madam President, Mr. Simstead and Mr. Hanson, this goes along with the fact that the town was awarded $1 million of that from the state through the CCMG, correct?
That's correct. And Andy and his staff put together the application, which was successful in that acquisition of the $1 million grant.
Move to approve, Madam President.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, please. We talked about the $1 million this year and the grants, but that means we have to come up with $1.47 million to pay for this paving.
That's correct.
Are we in, that's obviously higher than our $2 million proposal for the CCMG. So are we in line? Are we able to do this? Are we able to fund the 1.47?
So the thought process for doing that is that we are in line for funding the $1 million currently, but these projects won't be done till next year, so we'll have part of the funding pulled, set aside from this year, and then will be refunded next year. That may require us to reduce our request for the 23
For the 23.
Request for projects. We may have to reduce our projects next year unless we do get some additional funding through the state. They've got a few things they're working on and trying to correct some of the problems with MVH funding right now.
I still want to approve this if we're not able to pay for it.
We're going to be splitting it between 2 budget years.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
No
We have a
other
motion
discussion.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item I, award milling and paving bid for realignment improvements at the intersection of Burr Street and 91st Avenue, the amount of $146,212.50.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, we solicited proposals to realign Burr Street along with paving it, and that's also included with moving the Pensy Trail to follow this new routing. And we only received one proposal, and we're looking to grant them the award based on your approval tonight to Milestone for $146,212.50.
Madam President, I have a question for Mr. Simstead. I believe you worked on that. Where exactly at Burr Street, or how about this question? How many feet off of the intersection of Burr Street and 91st back north will it start to go straight instead of on an angle?
If I'm understanding your question, we're going to be moving the intersection from a 45-degree angle at 91st to a 90-degree angle with Burr Street at 91st, and that's going to be a couple hundred feet to the west, and then we'll come back just north and west of that first driveway, north of 91st. Past there will be about the midpoint of the project, and then it will transition back into the natural northwest alignment of Burr Street in that area.
Okay, so it'll be back to the first driveway north.
It's
basically,
past that,
is
yeah.
where.
Yeah, that's about the midpoint of where the radius of the curve will be.
Okay, that's it's something that's been needed anyway for a long time. Yeah.
Agreed.
And with the bike path coming in, it's much safer to intersect with a bike path at a 90 degree than an angle like that.
Totally agree. I move to approve, Madam President.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item J, consider donation to Campagna Academy for the 75th anniversary celebration occurring on September 8th, 2022, in the amount of $1,000, Restoring Hope.
Thank you, Madam President. Campagna is looking for a donation to help celebrate that anniversary, and it's to help support and enrich the lives of at-risk youths, and strengthen their programs they currently have for those youths. And they're looking for $1,000.
Move to approve, Madam President.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Item K, consider acceptance of donations in the amount of $6,320.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be doing that for Mr. Troxel tonight. Donation for the Park Fund, we have Donald Romana Memorial Bench, $1,750. Driftwood Collective Skate Park, $200. Raffaro Remodeling and Maintenance, Hocus Pocus and Candy, $50 for total park donation amount of $2,000. For the fire department, we have Eldon and Mary Ann Lehane, 120 count variety of Frito-Lay chips in kind, $600. Total fire department in kind donation, $600. Police department, United Federal Credit Union, $500 donation. To the animal control from Jennifer McGuire, $20. National Night Out, we have Brian Kelly and Nicole Kelly, $100. Sherville Chamber of Commerce, $100. Ogden Welding Systems, $50. Yingling Cleaners, $25. Minuteman Press, $100. Donna Brum Dancers, $25. Sherville Central Lions Club, $100. Mason Corporation, $375. D&D Napa, $50. Sherville BMW, $500. Sherville Studio Base Camp Fitness, $250. Providence Bank and Trust, $150. Crossroads Family Dental, $100. Cesare Batista Lodge Number 27, $100. O'Donnell Law Group, $100. Pontillo and Crane, $200. 41 Cleaners, $100. Damaro Incorporated, $500. Great Lakes Landscape, $100. Annette Jewell, $25. Gathering of Northwest Indiana, $100. Houlihan's, $50 for a total for National Night Out of donations, $3,200. With the in-kind donations and the monetary donations, the grand total of donations, $6,320.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Is there any business from the floor? Any business from the floor? Seeing and hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.